let's get some perspective from a mom who has been very outspoken on these issues. Not only a mom, my friend, the great Megyn Kelly, host of The Megyn Kelly Show. Miss Megyn, thank you so much for being here. Huge topic, and you've been all over this. You know, have we reached critical racism theory in our schools?
You know, it's crazy because just that story about Oregon, so they're going to help minority students by letting them graduate, though not proficient at math and reading, because they've failed them in K through 12 in getting them proficient. So let us fail you for 13 years and then help you by passing you without any of the life skills you're going to need to move on to trade work, to college, to any sort of job, right? You're going to have to demonstrate some proficiency at some math and some reading and some writing to get a job in America, 90% of the jobs, some proficiency. And so after all that time of failing them and then spending the last 2 years keeping them at home, indoctrinating them with critical race theory and long messages and training about how bad they are or dumb they are based on their skin color, now the solution is, well, just pass them because we just got to start fresh with the next
that's how they're going to help them. Here, we're going to help you out here. We're not going to make you study. And good luck preparing for college. Good luck when you arrive at college if you haven't even prepared for that college. Megyn, what about this teacher, the 5th grade teacher who was in tears resigning because the school board was asking teachers to rat out fellow teachers if they said something that they deemed anti-critical race theory online, on Facebook, in their personal lives, in a cocktail party? This feels like a communist dictatorship, not a republic.
And just for the record, I mean, this is Ibram X. Kendi's ideal of America. This guy whose teachings the Biden administration tried to get pushed into our high schools, and only over public opinion did they have to pull that back, wants a Department of Racism. He wants a constitutional amendment adding a Department of Racism where they can punish anybody for having a thought Ibram X. Kendi doesn't like, or somebody who pushes back against these so-called anti-racist policies, which we know are in fact racist. So somebody like that teacher would probably be fired if she spoke up against these segregated classrooms or these lessons that teach white kids they're inherently bad, or people of color that they just can't measure up. You know, no matter how hard they try, the system will always keep them down. They're not capable of overcoming challenges. So, I mean, that's what's really crazy. And if this is happening in Virginia, yes, Loudoun County is more left-leaning than a lot of the counties in Virginia. You can bet it's happening in a system near you. Even up in New York, where I am, which is very liberal, it went 87% Manhattan did for Biden. If you pull your kid out of the public school, good luck in the private schools where my kids were up until we pulled them because of this stuff. Where just in the spring at my daughter's school, they were showing clips of this woman on some, I don't know, is HBO Max or Showtime show, talking about how awful white women were and what's wrong with white women and how we need studies on what's wrong with white women, which had happened in my son's private school the year prior. I mean, this is the new okay messaging.
Yeah, unbelievable. And the point being, these are young minds that are being developed, and they probably have zero racism to start with, and yet we're basically teaching them how to be racists.
You know, Chris Rufo, who's done so much good work on critical race theory and it's spread throughout the schools, he had a piece out just today. I think it was in the New York Post, and he was talking about how they're doing critical race theory training at American Express. And one of the recommended readings is a book that explains to you how children really are not colorblind, and really as young as 6 months, they're already making race-based judgments. And so you got to get right in there, right?
Lord.
You know, 6 months out of the womb. You need Kendi, you need
I got to take my binky out first because it's turning me a racist. It's insane what's going on. Megyn, the other big topic of the week, and we had talked about you coming on before this happened, but yesterday Governor Cuomo stepped down. He resigned. I guess he felt the pressure. You have been on his heels for a long time for being a creep, for being, on many levels, not only the sexual harassment, the unwanted touching, but also the nursing home scandal, which hasn't even broken yet. Talk to us a little bit where you stand with what do you think is going on with Cuomo. Is he finished as a politician?
I'd like to say yes, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a lifelong New York State gal, and they love their Democrats in New York, and they love the Cuomos. They loved his dad. I mean, he was born into such a family of privilege. He and his loser brother on CNN, born into such a family of privilege. These guys never would have achieved the positions they have if it had not been for their daddy and his name. Very popular 3-term governor of New York, Mario Cuomo. So they get into these positions, and what do? They abuse them. And on the sexual harassment scandal, Eric, just to jump to that, Now we find out that they worked together to silence these women and try to attack these some odd 11 accusers who came forward against Andrew Cuomo, none of whom came from any positions of power. The woman they really went after, Lindsey Boylan, her dad was a Marine. Her mom was on food stamps, got pregnant as a very young woman, a young teen. This woman, Lindsey Boylan, pulled herself up out of a family that had no advantages, and everything she has in her life, she got for herself. She goes to work for Andrew Cuomo as an aide. The guy tries to stick his tongue down her throat, wants to play strip poker with her, says all these inappropriate comments. And then when she finds the courage to tweet about it, what do these two privileged brothers do? You know, the ones who trade off of their family name, their family connections, their family power. They conspire together to try to silence her, humiliate her, embarrass her. They work with the heads of two woke organizations to smear her by releasing her personnel file, including Time's Up, which was born to help women who come forward with sexual harassment allegations, unless your name is Tara Reid and you're accusing Joe Biden, or your name is Lindsey Boylan and you're trying to accuse Andrew Cuomo, because they worked with Cuomo to edit his response going after Lindsey Boylan. I mean, it's insane. But just to jump back, the nursing home scandal in which he issued an order that led to the deaths of up to 15,000 senior citizens didn't get any ink. I mean, comparatively, it got almost no ink. The media wasn't interested in that. And why is that? Because they were too busy lauding themselves as Cuomo-sexuals, applauding Andrew Cuomo on Chris Cuomo's cable news show. It's so fun. We need a moment of levity. Aren't they wonderful? Even though Chris asked nothing about the nursing home scandals, which were unfolding when he put his brother on television.
Can I stay there just for a minute and we'll get into some of the nursing home stuff? I want to stay on Chris Cuomo because you point this out. I mean, how he can possibly return to CNN from his pre-planned vacation the week his brother is resigning. Interesting. How can he come back with any sort of credibility at all? And I know he's not a journalist. I know he's he considers him an opinion host. I get that. But how can he possibly return to CNN given what he's done? He's advised his brother on how to combat sexual harassment claims, and basically what the brother ended up doing was victim shaming. He pointed the finger at the victims. Rather, this is against everything that they stand for, what Cuomo's are supposed to stand for, what CNN was supposed to stand for. How can he possibly do that? Your thoughts?
Well, this is a career-defining and a character-defining moment for CNN. Forget Chris Cuomo. We know who he is. For CNN, there are other journalists there. There are people there who I really like and still respect. A couple. Certainly, I like Jake Tapper. He wasn't a fan of Trump, but I still think he's a good guy. He's spoken out about Chris Cuomo. He's the only one, Eric. Everybody else has held their tongue. They may have gone after Andrew finally, but they won't say a word about brother Chris, who's been acting as a political operative. And let me just clear something up, because there are a lot of conservatives who say, oh, okay, I can forgive Chris Cuomo. He helped his brother. This isn't about what kind of a brother he was. No one's saying, oh, you helped your brother. This is about what kind of an anchor he is. Yeah. When you have these roles in the cable news anchor desk and any of the anchor desks, you have a responsibility to journalism, to your audience, to your news organization, to uphold a higher standard. And if you're going to go political operative, full political operative, taking a side on a story and actively working against one other, you've got to disclose it, and you got to take a leave of absence. The only reason we know Chris Cuomo did any of this stuff is he got caught. The Washington Post found out, outed him, and only then did he come on the air and say, oh, I can't report on my brother because I'm biased. Now you can't report on him. And then we found out he was working behind the scenes. Even since then, now it's come out, even since then, and post his promise not to do it, he has been doing it. So CNN, this is a moment for Jeff Zucker. Does he care at all about journalistic standards at all? Is there a 1% of that left in that news organization, or isn't there?
Good question. He was the highest rated host on the network. That's a tall order to give. Listen, it's happened before, though. But how does, very quickly, but I have half a minute or so, Megyn, how does Chris Cuomo cover any sort of story of any sort of sexual harassment accusation going forward?
He doesn't. He can't. Think about how the women inside of CNN are feeling about this guy right now. He actively worked behind the scenes to dismiss them all as part of cancel culture. The state trooper who says Andrew Cuomo was gratuitously rubbing her stomach as she walked by, the young executive assistant whose breast he felt underneath her blouse. These guys get wind of these allegations and decide to go after the women. Chris Cuomo is going to look at his staff and say he cares deeply about these issues. These stories are going to keep coming. Is he going to bow out of all of them? He's lost all credibility. He's shown us who he is. And I think at a minimum, this guy needs to be turfed for a long time, if not let out of that post.
I'm going to leave it right there. Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly podcast, Megyn Kelly Show. Follow her on Twitter. She's always fired up like this. She's an awesome, awesome person to follow, also an awesome friend. Thank you, Megyn.
Thanks, Eric. See you soon.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.